Arsenal are another team that have had a good window. They've got a good win at the weekend, didn't they? And they've seen their new man, Gyökeres, scoring a couple of goals as well will be a delight for Mikel Arteta. But David, looks like they're not done either with looking at another defender, the Bayer Leverkusen player, Piero Hincapie. What are you thinking with that one? Is that directly linked to Jacob Kivior leaving?
Yeah, it's been an extraordinary summer, Pete, at the Emirates Stadium. We've not seen business like it. Inbound, certainly, and the level of expenditure suggests they're really going to need to challenge and potentially get over the line in these competitions this season. So Hincapié is bit of a surprise one I broke. That he's always been very high on their recruitment list for that left-sided central defence position, or even capable of playing left back. He's a top player. Let's make this clear for Bayer Leverkusen, Ecuador national team, and yeah, it would relate to Kivior's potential departure with Porto working on a deal. Let's see also if any movement occurs with Zinchenko. It hasn't so far, but I think in an ideal world for Arsenal, they would maybe move on Kivior, Zinchenko, even the likes of Fabio Vieira, Reiss Nelson. Obviously, that's straying into other areas of the pitch to raise the sort of resource to balance out some of the spending that they've committed already this summer, but also to go one further and really provide that extra defensive option. But he can attack as well, Hincapié, up that left side, which is an area of the pitch that Arsenal have been looking to improve in. And, you know, there is some method, so many questions to me about why are they doing this? I actually totally get it. If Kivior goes, if something happens on Zinchenko, there's been injuries to Calafiori, Lewis Skelly, you know, it was such a rapid rise in development that some patience is required, whether he's at left back, whether he's a midfield option. And then obviously Eze's come in. Maybe when Martin Odegaard plays, is stationed slightly towards the left. Yes, he's not a left winger. He comes inside. So if you had an overlapping player like a Lewis Skelly, a Calafiori, a Hincapié, then I get it. But a deal needs to be done. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. There's a 60 million euros release clause. Efforts are being made to try and negotiate what would be a more realistic market rate, given the sort of interest in him and what value players like him have gone for this summer. It's been a tough window at Leverkusen with change of coach, but also so many players leaving. He wants to make the move. He's prioritising Arsenal ahead of other options. And so, yeah, let's see. Arsenal clearly going for it with him, but there's no outcome to it yet.
It'd be interesting how this all materialises, actually, Pete, because the messaging we're getting is that the focus has always been on sales once the Gyökeres and to a later degree Eberechi Eze came in. But I think in the background there must be some sort of assurances Arsenal are getting that these players will move on before the end of the window, because you can't time transfers sometimes. You could say, right, we need to get rid of 1, 2, 3, 4 players before we can go back into the market. But if the player that you want becomes available before you've made those sales, then you continue making the work to ensure that at some point those players will leave, but you can't ignore the fact that the market opportunity has come up. So I think Arsenal have grabbed every single market opportunity possible in this transfer window. David mentioned that there's been an extraordinary window for them. I know we expected them to be busy, quite this busy. I don't think anyone really predicted that. But with some of those departures, I think there is some sort of assurance that maybe before the end of the window, something will happen. And I think Porto might be playing a big part in this as well, because they seem to be interested in Kivior. That one looks close. I think there's an interest in Zinchenko from Porto as well as Fabio Vieira, because the Stuttgart deal looked like it was going to happen. That one's kind of cooled off a little bit now because it doesn't seem possible that the money's being spoken about that Stuttgart might be able to do that deal. Sambi Lokonga is another player, obviously still at Arsenal, despite a couple of loan spells that he's had before, that they will listen to suitable offers for. Reiss Nelson as well. I think that one was expected to have been done weeks ago to Fulham, but it seems that they're still thrashing out the structure of a potential deal for that one. And I think Fulham are probably looking at what happened last season. They clearly like the player because they took him on a season-long loan, but he got a bad injury as well. So they just probably taking that into account and maybe using that with Arsenal to try and get a better deal. But it's clear that there's a willingness from all parties to try and get that deal over the line. But if they can get Hincapié as well, you're looking at what? 250 to 300 million pound spend for Arsenal, which I don't think many people were expecting, but I think they're still in the background starting just to knock off these players who they want to offload.